Welcome to Monk Wisdom. In a world where stress and distractions seem omnipresent, finding effective methods to purify the soul and mind is essential for overall well-being. Within the rich tradition of Buddhism, there are ancient practices that offer deep spiritual and mental cleansing. These methods are not only designed to provide temporary relief, but also to foster a lasting transformation that can be integrated into the daily life of anyone, regardless of their context or beliefs. We will explore 3 Buddhist methods that have been honored through the centuries for their ability to renew the spirit and clarify the mind: the purification ritual, the ritual purification bath, and mantra meditation. Each of these methods has its own characteristics and benefits, but all share the common goal of helping individuals reconnect with their purest essence and achieve a state of inner peace. Through these practices, one can achieve a harmony that transcends the physical, deeply touching the spiritual and emotional. These methods are not only accessible, but also deeply transformative, offering each person a path to serenity and mental clarity amid the chaos of the modern world. Let's discover how these ancient rituals can be adapted to our era and continue to provide peace and renewal to those who practice them. We will develop the 3 key points, accompanied by a story as an example of their application in life. Purification ritual. Purification rituals play a crucial role in Buddhism, acting as methods to cleanse both the mind and spirit of daily impurities and stress. These practices range from immersing in natural waters to sound meditations and offerings in temples. These acts are not just symbolic, but are believed to have tangible effects in reducing mental agitation and increasing clarity and inner peace. By participating in these rituals, practitioners seek spiritual rebirth and mental refreshment that helps them face the distractions and challenges of the modern world with greater serenity. Our first story applies a purification ritual. Lena had always been an ambitious woman, whose career in the tech world was her main priority. Every day, from dawn to well into the night, she was engrossed in coding and meetings, trying to climb in a company dominated by fierce competition. However, the cost of her success began to manifest in her mental and physical health. She felt constant exhaustion, anxiety she couldn't shake off, and a void she couldn't fill with professional achievements. In a desperate attempt to find something that would bring her some peace, Lena began researching different methods to alleviate stress. It was then that she discovered an article about the spiritual benefits of retreats at Buddhist monasteries. Intrigued by the promise of purification and spiritual renewal, Lena made an impulsive decision that would change her life. She signed up for a 2-week spiritual retreat at a monastery in Thailand. Upon arriving at the monastery, Lena was greeted by the calm of the Zen gardens and the soft sound of chants escaping from the open windows. The monks, in their orange robes, moved with a serenity Lena desperately longed for. She was assigned to a small room overlooking a lake surrounded by mountains, a scene that seemed straight out of a dream. The first purification ritual would take place at dawn the next day, and although Lena felt an inexplicable nervousness, there was also a spark of hope she hadn't felt in years. The cool morning air brushed Lena's skin as she headed toward the sacred lake, following a group of participants and monks. The silence was only interrupted by the crunch of leaves underfoot and the occasional song of a distant bird. Upon reaching the shore, the retreat leader explained that this bathing ritual was intended to cleanse not only the body, but also the soul of accumulated impurities. With a mix of shyness and anticipation, Lena stepped into the water. The sensation of the piercing cold was a shock at first, but as she submerged completely, something inside her began to change. She could feel every worry, every tension, and every fear dissolving in the cold water surrounding her. She emerged feeling lighter, as if she had truly left behind a part of herself that she no longer needed. The following days were filled with meditation, teachings, and moments of personal reflection. Lena learned to sit in silence, to listen to her own breath, and to find a center of calm she never knew she had. When the retreat came to an end, Lena was not the same person who had arrived. She had found a clarity and peace that technology and the chaos of her previous life had not been able to provide. Upon returning to her everyday life, Lena incorporated small purification rituals into her daily routine. She was no longer consumed by her work in the same way. She had learned the value of pausing, of breathing, and of purifying, always remembering the cool, clear waters of the lake that had returned her serenity. 2. Ritual bath of purification. The ritual bath, particularly in a natural setting like a river or a waterfall, is a powerful example of how natural elements are used in Buddhist practices to achieve purification. The sensory experience of the cold water, the tranquil, natural environment, and the spiritual intention behind the ritual contribute to a sense of physical and emotional cleansing. Practitioners believe this act not only cleanses the body, but also carries away accumulated worries and negativities, leaving a sense of lightness and freshness. This ritual symbolizes the ability to renew oneself and reconnect with nature, which reinforces the connection between physical and spiritual well-being. Second story. Tomas had spent the last few months in front of his old typewriter, battling a persistent writer's block that threatened his career as a novelist. Each day he sat down hoping the words would flow, but the pages remained blank, as empty as he felt inside. Desperate to find a spark of creativity, he began to search for unconventional solutions that took him away from typical writing techniques and self-help advice he had tried so far. One day, while browsing the internet for inspiration, Tomas came across an article about purification rituals in different cultures. What caught his attention was the description of a Buddhist ritual bath, known for its power to cleanse the spirit and rejuvenate the soul. Intrigued by the idea that a physical change could catalyze a mental shift, he decided to give it a try. He remembered a local river known for its beauty and tranquility, often visited by those seeking refuge in nature. He decided that would be his destination. It was a chilly autumn dawn when Tomas arrived at the river. The sun was just beginning to light up the landscape, tinting the sky with shades of pink and orange. The idea of plunging into the icy water made him shiver as much from nervousness as from the morning cold. But he was determined. He stripped off his clothes and with a deep breath entered the river. The water was much colder than he had anticipated, and his first instinct was to run back to the shore. However, something inside him urged him to stay, to face the cold as a metaphor for his creative block. As the cold water enveloped him, he closed his eyes and visualized his fears and doubts being washed downstream, away from him. He remained in the water until the pain turned into a numb sensation, and then into a sense of purification. Emerging from the river, he wrapped himself in a towel, shivering but surprisingly revitalized. He sat on the riverbank, his body still trembling, but his mind clear for the first time in months. He pulled out a notebook from his backpack and began to write. The words flowed naturally and effortlessly, as if the river had carried away the barriers that had held him back. The following days were the most productive Tomas had had in years. He transformed his experience in the river into a series of chapters that explored themes of rebirth and overcoming. The novel that emerged was unlike anything he had written before, infused with a new perspective and a depth that could only have come from his transformative experience in the river. Tomas would never forget the lesson he learned that day. Sometimes, to find lost creativity, one must be willing to dive into the unknown and face the cold, both literally and figuratively. His purification bath not only renewed his spirit, but also rescued his career, giving him a new story to tell and a new way to tell it. Meditation and mantras. Meditation and the use of mantras are fundamental in many spiritual practices, but in Buddhism, they are essential for mental purification. Sitting in stillness, focusing on the breath, and repeating mantras, sacred words or sounds, help stabilize the mind and filter out disruptive or negative thoughts. This process not only calms the mind, but also opens the heart to more positive emotions, such as compassion and self-love. Through regular meditation and the recitation of mantras, practitioners develop a greater awareness of their internal states and an enhanced ability to manage stress and negative emotions in their daily lives. Third and final story. Elisa had dedicated her life to caring for others as a nurse in the intensive care unit of a large, busy hospital. Each day brought a new wave of emergencies, tragedies, and critical moments that tested her emotional and physical endurance. Despite her passion for helping others, the constant accumulation of stress began to take its toll on her, manifesting in sleepless nights, anxiety, and a feeling of burnout she could not ignore. She knew she needed to find an outlet, a way to release the emotional weight she carried on her shoulders. One night, after a particularly tough shift, Elisa met an old friend who had been practicing meditation and mantra recitation as part of her daily routine. Inspired by the serenity and balance her friend seemed to have found, Elisa decided to give meditation a try. That very night, before going to sleep, she sat quietly in her living room, lit a candle, and prepared to attempt meditation for the first time. With her legs crossed and her back straight, Elisa closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She recalled the mantra her friend had suggested, Om Shanti, an invocation of peace that resonated with her. She began to repeat the mantra softly in her mind, synchronizing each repetition with her breath. At first, her mind wandered, haunted by memories of the day's emergencies and the faces of patients she couldn't save. But gradually, as she continued reciting the mantra, she felt the tension begin to dissolve, her heart lighten, and her mind calm. This practice became a nightly ritual for Elisa, and each session took her deeper into her journey toward inner peace. She started to notice a change in her ability to handle stress at work. She no longer felt overwhelmed by each crisis. Instead, she found in her meditation practice a strength to face each challenge with renewed calm. The repetition of the mantra Om Shanti not only helped her find peace during her meditation sessions, but also became a mental refuge to which she could retreat during difficult moments at the hospital. The change in Elisa did not go unnoticed. Her colleagues began to approach her seeking advice on how to manage stress. Elisa shared her experience with meditation and mantras, and soon a small group of nurses began to gather regularly after work to meditate together. These group sessions strengthened their sense of community and mutual support, essential elements for coping with the emotional burden of their profession. Elisa had found not only a way to purify her mind and heart each day, but also a means to strengthen her spirit and those of her colleagues. Her practice of meditation and mantras had become a vital tool, not only for her personal well-being, but also as a resource for improving the atmosphere in her workplace. Through her example, Elisa showed how the personal pursuit of peace could have a positive and broad impact, changing not just one life, but also the lives of those around her. Don't forget to subscribe to Monk's Wisdom for more empowering videos, and if you like this story, I invite you to watch Leverage Solitude in This Way, Inner Growth, Buddhist Story. These stories transform your journey towards a bolder, more confident life surrounded by good moments. Until next time.